This is our squadron insignia, Mammy Yoakum, for the 817th Bomb Squadron of the 483rd Bomb Group of the 15th Air Force. This is a picture taken of our crew in Tampa, Florida, shortly after we were assembled as a crew and were flying practice missions. Today, the pilot, Ken Quick, is deceased, having died in the 1960s, and Eddie Davenport from Georgia, a waist gunner, died 6 years ago, 2 weeks before he was to, along with myself and a couple others, attend our first reunions of the 483rd Bomb Group Association in St. Paul, Minnesota. This is me. This is the navigator and the bombardier. This is the other waist gunner, also from Georgia, who attends all of our reunions, along with Dick Floyd and Don Nizer. And this is Lauren Danielson, who was from Marquette, Michigan, who now lives in Washington State and has started attending the meetings, the reunions with us the last 3 or 4 years. This is Marv Baker, the ball turret gunner and also the oldest man on the crew, who has attended all of the meetings that I have with the exception of 2. And this is Marshall Gullickson, who was the tail gunner. He being also almost the biggest man on the crew at the time. So he was in a very confined space. He has only attended 1 reunion. When we went to St. Paul for our first reunion, he, who lived not too far away in Wisconsin, had just had heart surgery and was unable to attend. He came to the next one in Omaha, but none since then. And this was the top turret gunner and mechanic on the plane, Jack Dunning from Pennsylvania, and he now attends all of the meetings. This is an album that I put together after the war because I was able to acquire a number of maps and actual bomb strike photos which were made available in our squadron after the war had ended. And since they had no use for them, we were able to take whatever we wanted. Unfortunately, by the time I got there, all of the silk maps had been taken up. These are just pictures of the crew around the plane, which again were taken in Tampa while we were in our original training missions. I was looking for something to show. This is relating to our trip overseas. We left Manchester, New Hampshire on September the 17th, and we arrived in Valley, Wales on the 23rd. This is a map which was given to all military personnel in England. All personnel who were traveling as we were. We left the replacement depot in the morning, took a train down to London, this being an area of London, which told us where we could get meals and where the American embassy was and so on. And then that evening, we caught a sleeper train to Newquay, England, which is at Land's End, and from there we were ferried over to Italy, to Naples. Some of this, well, that's the hotel we stayed at, the Great Western Hotel for transients. Now this, let's see what we got here. All right, this is the refugee type picture which I mentioned that could be used for falsifying a passport in case we were shot down. And the back was slit from one end to the other, and you just put your arms in it, and you can see that I look much like a refugee. This was a combat pass that we carried on the missions, which was printed in several languages. I haven't looked at it in a long time. It was a picture and with identification, as I say, in several languages. And this, of course, was a 1 lira, which would be the equivalent of 1 cent at one time. And I don't think it was worth that at the end. right after we got to Italy, to the group, we attended a party they were having to celebrate the fact that the group had flown 100 missions. And this was a dinner in Foggia. In honor of that. This is a ticket, and with it a bunch of stubs for various things at the hotel we went to on the Isle of Capri for a rest camp. And it happened that we were there over Christmas vacation, at Christmas time.
Okay.
Now, I was able to get a pass after the war and went to Rome, where we attended an audience of Pope Pius. Here are some pictures which will show you, well, this is being a formation, vapor trails, and here is some 88 millimeter flak,
Okay.
the black flak.
That's typical of what
Typical,
you would
right.
would have seen.
Yeah. Now here are some pictures. Here's a picture of a plane going down in flames. It's been shot up pretty badly. You can't see the fuselage for the fire. Here is a plane with 2 engines feathered, and here is a chute just starting to open
Oh yeah.
with
yeah.
a person attached. Now this is one of our planes that came back after taking a hit close enough that it knocked out the entire structure on the one side.
That's from
from
your
the
group.
Yes, from our group, from our squadron. Captain Glass flew it. That was before we got there, though.
Oh, okay.
And this is a typical map that was passed out to the lead planes, which indicated, with appropriate circles, mileage and so on to the target area. And then on the backside
Yeah.
was an aerial photo. And whoever had used this particular map for a target had indicated what
Oh
the
yeah.
specific target was to be.
That's the Danube, eh? So right.
That's Regensburg, yeah. Right. And then, of course,
That says mission number 1. That was your first one.
that was the first one, yes.
Maribor,
Salzburg.
Salzburg.
I'm trying to find some photographs.
This is your Purple Heart.
Purple Heart for Davenport,
Okay.
who was a waist gunner. Here is a picture, again, this being Bleckhammer, a synthetic oil refinery that was to be attacked. Here is a picture with some light smoke, and I'm not sure what that's from. It would not be from here. You can see here some
Oh,
bombs
yeah,
on their
yeah.
way to the target.
Yeah.
So the target's got to be up here somewhere
Because of the motion.
because of the motion. Yes.
It says here air medal.
Well, that would be the 5th mission then. Yeah, there's.
Oh,
the-
there's that picture.
there's the
Slide
picture.
that over.
All right. That being the 5th mission, I was awarded the air medal along with a number of other people. You can't see it in this photograph, but people are lined up here waiting to come around to get their air medal. There should be some pictures in here of, well, this is Hall, Austria. This is where we were bombed from above by the
Okay.
B-24s.
Yep.
And in this picture you can see those little black spots are bombs.
Okay.
See, they're
Detonating.
hitting along here.
Uh-huh.
Uh, This is a typical marshalling yard, and that was often our target, one of our
yeah.
targets.
Yeah.
The object being to cripple them so they could not transport
Sure.
materials and men and so on,
Mess up the tracks.
one place to another. Right, this would be the point at which I was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross.
Mission about 9 or 10 then? 10th?
I'd have to,
10th, there you go.
yeah. Yes.
And is there a write-up that says?
This is a write-up that describes why it was awarded.
Okay.
Immediately after leaving the target area, Lieutenant Miller piloted his aircraft from the protective cover of the formation and proceeded homeward alone, selecting a course that would avoid the rugged mountainous regions of Austria and Yugoslavia, as well as the heavily defended enemy installations en route. He succeeded in landing his aircraft at the home base without further incidents. This was caused by, in the target area, the formation was subjected to fierce barrages of extremely heavy, intense, and very accurate enemy anti-aircraft fire, which caused major damage to the wings and fuselage of his aircraft, despite the fact that only 2 of the engines of the aircraft were operating normally. He was able to maintain it in level flight, enabling his bombardier to release the bombs on the assigned objective.
So you made it back on 2 at one time.
Yes.
Huh. Now, would someone propose you as a candidate, in so many words, for that? I mean, would your CO or who did the write-up?
Well, the write-ups we had a public relations department which consisted of 2 people, an officer and an enlisted man. And they would get the information from the debriefings. And from the debriefings then, upon the recommendation of the commanding officer, they would prepare the request, which required approvals, and then it would be done. These are pictures or maps of each of the missions that I flew. And here is one in Maribor, Yugoslavia. It's wintertime, obviously, and a lot of bombing in this area. These, I think, are anti-aircraft emplacements. These huge round things.
Okay.
And I used to be able to pick them out all over, but I can't. Now here's a couple bombs that came nowhere near the target, as you can see. This being, looked like a little marshalling yard.
Right.
And would be heavily damaged, and it would delay their ability to move men and materials.
Strategic bombing.
Yeah, that's what we did. As opposed to the fighters or the mid-bombers, which would do tactical bombing. That is related to the battle that was being fought at the front.
Okay. Short term. Now is that? Oh, go ahead.
This is a type of literature which in many instances we also dropped. When we went on a target, we did a number of things. First of all, we would throw out as we got near the target, several planes would be carrying what they call chaff. And chaff was strips of aluminum, thin strips of aluminum, and we'd throw those out and they would flutter through the air and they would disrupt the radar that the Germans were using in order to determine our altitude, in order to set their guns so they could fire at us.
The flak.
The flak.
Okay.
In addition to that, we would carry these on occasion, which we would also let go from the planes, in the hopes that some of the civilians, particularly, and the soldiers, would find these and read them, and in effect we're telling them how we're beating them on all fronts, and it's time that they give up and get rid of the Fuhrer. That's a badge. That's the Fuhrer.
Something that's the West, obviously.
In the West,
have allied
some kind of a strike at this is a city, Aachen. I can't read it all.
Confident in the Rhineland,
Belgium, and a large time in Holland. Holland is free, or these are
set free.
Sint is R, and Fry is free.
Okay, with.
And I don't know enough of the words to pick it all up.
Auf Deutschland.
In the air,
okay,
in der Luft. I can't read it.
So you're dropping propaganda leaflets.
So we're dropping propaganda leaflets. And this is Österreich. That's Austria.
Oh, okay.
Österreich workers, Austrian workers.
Sabotage.
Does
in the industry.
Yeah. And this is Farmer.